thank you, your Thrifty Apprentice. Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to another Thrifty Review. In today's Thrifty Review, we are taking a look at Derwent Graphitint Pencil. I am going to run through a really quick unboxing with you all, although I've already opened this, and then we will proceed into swatching, a quick demo, and then we'll jump into the review section. The pencils came in this, or come in this tin. Now, the bottom section of the package is wrapped in plastic when you get it. Of course, I've already removed it, but all of that is wrapped in plastic. Pretty sturdy tins, nice artwork on the front. I won't get too much into anything, simply because I will kind of go over all of this in the review. You can see the pencils there on the front. The information on the inside of the tin just lets you know that with a heritage dating back to 1832, Derwent's innovation comes from a deep understanding of the needs and requirements of artists, perfecting the art of pencil manufacturing in the Lake District for generations. Our wide range of pencils is synonymous with quality and craftsmanship. Artistry is threaded through the core of every Derwent product to deliver world-class artist materials at every stage of the creative journey. So that's their mission, sort of their motto, their statement towards the perfection of their pencils. And I will say that I like pretty much all Derwent products that I've used. We're going to get into the swatching in just a second. And let's see here. Round barrel pencil. There's no light fast information included. I do believe that you can find it on their websites, or websites like that. Well, websites depending on what country you're in. Yeah, so websites, but you can find it on their website. But that's pretty much how the pencils come. It's in a removable tray, which actually, let's see if I can get that out without dropping any of the pencils. I want to try that with that. I mean, that tray is about as sturdy as most trays with pencils in it. These pencils are thicker than your average watercolor or colored pencil, so you would definitely, yeah, they have a little weight to them, but that tray is pretty sturdy. And you could use the tin for something else, put the pencils in a carrier if you chose to. So that's what you get. Let's see, is there any information on the back to cover? There's their website, and lets you know that the pencils are made in Britain. It does have the AP stamp of approval, conforms to ASTMD 4236. Adco Brands is who distributes it. Tinted watercolor graphite pencils. And there you have it. Let's see. I just want to make sure I covered everything. So that is the pencil tin. That's how the pencils come. Let's go ahead and jump into the rest of the video, starting with the swatching. All right, friends, let's jump on into the review. I've shot this video over several days, of course, and I have a few minutes before I need to jump up and start getting ready for work, and I really needed to get this review done. You guys know how it is trying to work things around your work schedule. So up to this point, we've done an unboxing, we've done swatching, and we've done a painting demo of the Derwent Graphitint Pencils. As you guys remember from the unboxing, they come in a pretty sturdy tin. There's some really nice artwork on the front. If that artwork was done with the pencils, I strive to achieve this level with the pencils. But so the inside of the tin had a little information on it, if you remember. Now the pencils themselves are round pencils. As you can see from the roll test, they are all even and straight. There were no warped pencils in the set. The barrel itself is round. There's 3 colors on it, mostly like charcoal or silver gray. Then there's a more silvery tone, and then a color chip, which is supposed to be indicative of the color for the lead of the pencil. Now, I do always suggest that you swatch all of your products on the paper you use the most. That's the only way to get a true idea of what that product is going to look like on that paper. But I will say that the color chips for these were relatively close. I still suggest swatching. Now, the pencil itself is domed, so I was not initially able to see if the leads were centered. But of course, we've done sharpening tests to use the pencils since then. Now, the pencils are made of a pretty lightweight wood. They're not heavy to hold, pretty comfortable. Now, of course, Derwent barrels are larger than the standard water-soluble pencil. So that is something to note. Now, they sharpened really well and gave me a really nice point. I will say for most of the sharpening, the leads did seem a little off kilt. Now, I don't know if that's because of the sharpener I used or if that's truly the case that the leads were just a little off, but I did notice that most of them seemed to sharpen a little unevenly, and I used my standard electric Office Depot disc sharpener that I use for all of my other pencils. So I did take a little note of that. Other than that, the pencils were straightforward. There's only information on them is going to be the country they're made in, Derwent Graphitint's name, a little water brush. It gives you the color name on the barrel, and it also gives you the color number. Now, that's pretty cool considering the fact that this set, well, half of this set also comes in a pan paint palette, which has 12 colors versus 24, and those colors are the same across both mediums, both the pan paint set and the pencils. So they do and will work well with the pan paints if you have them. And it's really good when you get products that's made by the same company that have or surrounding the same subject, should I say, that have the same color range and numbering system. So that was really cool. Other than that, there's no light fast information included with these pencils. However, Derwent's website does give a lot of in-depth information on all of their products. So you can always source that type of information from their websites at any given point. Now, this is more of a graphite mixed with a pigment. So you get, they give you much more of a sketchy drawing feel versus necessarily a watercolor painting feel. You are going to get texture from it. It's going to look like maybe a little granulation, although that's not technically what it is. The colors are going to be more of your muted atmospheric type tones versus really bright and punchy colors. So I do think that's something to always keep in mind when you're using this particular product or its pan paint counterpart. Now, of course, we swatched the pencils, and the first thing I did was to dissolve them with a watery layer. Then I went back and did a glazing with the matte tone of the pencil without dissolving it. Well, the pigment, or the pencil, should I say, dissolve and move really well with water. You can add enough water to get it a really light washy feel, almost watercolor effect. You can add less water on your brush to get a more opaque, kind of vibrant, punchy coverage. And then, of course, you can layer the pencils and leave them in their matte tones. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. So I did number them and label them. I always suggest that. I cut this swatch sheet down to fit the inside lid, which I'm going to tape once the review has been shot. I'm going to tape it there. That way I always have that quick reference inside these pencils when I open them up. And I always suggest that for your pencil set. I don't typically swatch my pencils in a book per se. For the most part, sometimes, but not all the times. Color range is pretty cool. I do not, you're going to have to think outside the box. It really just depends on the type of artist that you are when it comes to this particular product. And guys, forgive the helicopter that you can hear flying overhead outside. But you can still pull off some really cool compositions with them. I really love this range of colors in this product using landscapes, but I did decide to challenge myself when testing these to kind of do something that was not necessarily landscape-ish to see how the pencils would work in a different environment for me. So, yeah, let's take a look at some of that artwork so we can go ahead and wrap this on up. So, well, first let me show you guys this. So I use the Soho Urban Artist Heavyweight Drawing 9x12 acid-free 135-pound sketch paper. This is actually a pretty robust paper. Soho is a house brand of Jerry's Autorama, so you can source this paper if you're interested from their website, from one of their stores if you're close to it, or I think you can even find it on Amazon, because if I'm not mistaken, I linked it in one of my videos. So really nice paper. Oh, sorry, hit that camera. So I did a few tests, not the standard testing that I normally do with pencils, because this is just a different range for me, right? So I did a smudge test, and the pencils do move just a little bit with pressure. My hands tend to get oily, so that may have had something to do with it, but they did smudge and they will move a bit. And I noticed that while testing the pencils too, where I would have to clean some of the graphite up from around the work area, because my hand would smudge it. So that's something to keep in mind, but that may also help with blending. So you have that. I did an erase test. For all intents and purposes, pencils erase okay, about as much as your standard watercolor pencil or maybe colored pencil would. Now, you're not going to get all the way back to the white of the paper, because they are going to stain just a little bit, and this does not have any water to dissolve it. This was just using the pencil straight to paper. Excuse me. Which brings me to the point that the medium or the lead, the product itself, will wear down faster the more toothy and textured paper you decide to use. You can prolong that life of that lead by using a smoother paper. I typically use like mixed media papers, which are not normally as rough as like a 130-pound watercolor paper. So that's something to keep in mind. I did a little blending, a mono blending, where I used the two greens because I knew I was really going to be testing those two pencils, and I think they blended together really well. Did a little shadow with the gray from the set, which gave me everything that I needed it to. The lighter pressure you use, the less pigment you're going to have, the lighter the color and wash. The heavier pressure, the more pigment, the darker and more saturated the color, wash, and tone. So something to keep in mind. I decided to take the pencils and use them to see how they would work in stamping, because I typically use water-soluble pencils in my card making process, my journal making processes. And when I want to stamp with a water-soluble product, I typically grab a watercolor pencil. Well, I decided to test these in that same aspect to see how they would work out. And I think that these pencils are beautiful for stamping and giving you a watercolor feel. So that is definitely something that I think stampers, card makers, journal makers, junk journalers, art journalers could keep in mind, because these pencils will work in really different avenues. So the first test piece that I did with them was some marbles. I looked up the pencils on YouTube, and it seemed that a lot of people were doing marbles. I said, hey, I'll give it a shot too. So I did marbles, and basically taking the same idea that I did from that blending ball, using the gray so I could keep the marbles kind of white, clear, or see-through, and then using different colors just to see how saturated I can get them, how well they would react to the water. And even on this sketch paper, which I kept thinking to myself, graphite on sketch paper makes sense. The pencils moved really well with water. They dissolve really, really cleanly. And this is not necessarily a water-soluble paper or a paper that's meant to take water-soluble products. So that's also an attestament to the thickness of this particular paper, which you can hear that, that I was able to use water on it, not in real heavy washes, but water on it and get some pretty nice payoff. So I do think the pencils work really well, or worked well for this little quick composition to get me warmed up. The next thing I did was a landscape in a jar, which is a demo on the channel, which will be linked, so you can check it out if you want to, or you can just go back and search the videos. And I did a landscape in a jar, and I really enjoyed this. I knew the pencils would work well in a landscape environment simply because I've tested and reviewed the pan paints, which will also be linked. And I know that that Graphitint line leans more towards landscape outdoor artistry, in my opinion. But I still did the jar, I did the lid. You can find the colors to use in other aspects, and we're going to take a look at that in just a second. And then I also used the pencils to do like this little imagery of a tabletop here so that the jar would have something to sit on. I enjoyed this one. It took a while because I was using pencils versus paint. And as you can see, if you use really light pressure, they'll dissolve so well that it'll give you a watercolor feel. And then I was able to use thicker pressure to get more texture in the actual landscape itself. That way you could see some definition in the landscape. I was able to go back and glaze on top of that with a little bit darker color in order to get the rocks in. So the pencils layer, blend, and mix really well with each other. Now you're not going to do like your standard color mixing, but for what they will give you, they mix and blend together really well. The last thing I decided to do when testing these pencils was the demo that we did today, which is done on the Maya Hemi 100% cotton watercolor paper. This is cold press, acid free. I think, yes, 300 GSM, so it's 130 pounds. I think this is a really good paper. Unfortunately, you can only get it inside their kits for some reason. I really wish Maya would release this paper by itself so I can buy up a lot of pads, because I would. So I decided to do a different type of composition, take me outside the landscape realm. I've been doing a lot of Christmas compositions that include bows lately for a project that I want to work on for throughout next year. And I love it. I do. It may not be everybody's cup of tea, but the pencils and the black fine liners work together really well. And I love the fact that those fine liners layered on top of that pencil and that graphite without giving me any issues. I've had somebody ask me before what fine liners I use, because they lay down on pastels, gouache, watercolor, color pencils. These fine liners work with every single medium. I've never had any of them skip or give me an issue. So I'm just going to show you guys this really quick. This is a super black ultra fine line drawing set. This is by Creative Mark, which is a house brand of Jerry's Autorama. I picked this up in store. You get eight pens or fine liners. It's got 8 different nibs ranging from a 0.20 millimeter all the way up to an actual brush, which is really handy in some situations, let me tell you. You got a 1 millimeter, a 0.50, 4.5, a 0.35, a 0.30, a 0.25, and then of course the 0.20 that I initially mentioned. 16, 17 bucks, if I'm not mistaken. Very, very, very great fine liners. My #1 recommended fine liner. Work on everything. So sorry about that side note. Let's stay focused. The pencils blended, mixed really well. I was able to go back after doing the initial wash and do a second layer, and the pencil still blended out on each other without lifting the initial layer, which I thought was a really important thing to note. As I said, after I went back in to add more definition with the fine liner, those fine liners laid down on top of the graphite with no problem. So I think in a mixed media aspect, these are going to be a really good pencil to use, especially if you're doing something landscape wise, foliage wise, greenery. Yeah, and this is 100% watercolor paper, and as you can see, the effect of the wash is really nice. Now I did add a little color pencil. I used a Brute Ferner macaron green to kind of mix in once I was done with the painting, and it layered on top of the graphite with no issue, no skipping, no anything. So really beautiful set of pencils, I do believe. I don't have any qualms with them. They work well with the pan paints. It's a Derwent product, so I definitely trust a lot of different things about it. And after getting a chance to test and use it, I don't have any problem recommending these pencils, just like I don't have any problem recommending the pan paints to anyone. As far as I know, the range is only 24 pencils. You're not going to get any more than that, but they do blend together and mix together, excuse me, so well that, you know, honestly, I think 24 pencils is enough. I don't think that you really would need anything too much more than that. Now, the pencils are currently on Amazon for $52.44. If I'm not mistaken, they may have had a sale on them on Prime Day, or maybe it was Black Friday. And it is coming up on Christmas time, so maybe they will have a sale on them again. Now, I know you can also get the pencils from Jerry Artarama, and I'll be honest, I did not look up that price, but I will definitely link it in the video description along with the Amazon link. Let me see if I can just look it up real quick on Jerry's, just to see if I can get you guys a price. Their website seems to move so slow for me sometimes. So it looks like Graphitint pencil, Derwent Graphitint pencil sets. Oh, they only have a set of 12 listed on their site for $25.13. So I guess if you wanted to get a smaller set of the Graphitint pencils, you could. And it seems to be the set that has the old packaging. I'm not exactly sure, because I know they did rework this pencil, if I'm not mistaken. But again, on Amazon for about $52 now. I think that it's kind of pricey, but it is a Derwent pencil, and I do think that Derwent is worth the money that you spend on it. I personally didn't have any qualms spending it, and I still think that's pretty thrifty and economical when you look at the pencils that are the counterpart to these from a professional, especially a legacy professional pencil maker. So I definitely recommend the pencils. I think that they will be a great addition to any artist's arsenal. They're fun to use. They kind of pull you outside of your normal box and make you think, as I had to do when I was painting this. So I definitely recommend the pencils. I mean, they may not be for everybody, I'll honestly say. I mean, it is a colored dissolvable graphite. But I do think that there are a lot of artists that these pencils will meet a lot of needs for, and I definitely recommend them. But if you already have pencils that you like and that you use, I say stick to it. No need to just add anything if you don't have to. And if you're looking for an alternative to these, I recommend the Staedtler. This is a drawing pencil set. This is not the actual case. The actual case for these pencils is a cardboard box with a beaver on the front, if I'm not mistaken. But these are the Staedtler tinted watercolor pencils. I think these are a great alternative to the Derwent Graphitint if you're looking for something that gives you the effect that these pencils do, but is in a little bit more of an affordable range. I think that these are a wonderful alternative. I actually had these first, and I used them for quite a while, which I'll link the review for these as well. So Wonderful alternative product, but I definitely say that the Derwent pencils are worth it, and I would recommend them. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully you heard something in this video that you found helpful, or you just enjoyed hanging out for swatching and testing, demoing, or don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you did. Go ahead and subscribe if you're returning and you haven't subscribed, or if you're new to the channel. Be sure to hit that notification bell so you know when all the great content comes out. This is a art and craft channel, so I do release both art and craft content. I like to make that known to people because that has cost me subscribers before. Please hit the comment section up. Let me know, have you used these pencils? What do you think of them? How do they work for you in the way that you do art? I would love to talk to you guys about that. Share the video. Sharing is caring. Maybe someone else would love to see this demo and review and get some thoughts on this particular product. So remember, you can hit up the video description for all of the relevant links. That's going to give you the Facebook group. It's going to give you the most recommended product list. It's going to give you the link to Esty and Patreon, so you can support the channel if you would like to, which is greatly appreciated. It'll give you all of the relevant links for the videos that relate to the Graphitint, the pan paints, the tinted watercolor pencils that I was talking about, so that you guys will have easy access to all that information. Thank you so much for joining me. And remember, as I tell you at the end of every single video, just keep painting and crafting.